Hello and welcome to United Report. This is your home for all the latest Manchester United news, match updates, transfer stories, and in-depth analysis. Stay connected and never miss a moment. Subscribe now to stay ahead with everything happening at Old Trafford. Manchester United are set to release their financial figures for the final 3 months of 2024 today, and the latest accounts are likely to include the settlement for sacking Erik Ten Hag and his staff, and appointing Ruben Amorim as his replacement. The figures could also include any payoff for sporting director Dan Ashworth after he left the club in December, although the figures will be grouped together rather than broken down individually. The accounts cover October, November and December, so include Ten Hag's dismissal and Amorim's appointment, with United paying a fee to Sporting to appoint Amorim, as well as the backroom staff he has brought with him. The figures will be analysed at a time when INEOS are considering more redundancies at the club, with 250 staff laid off last year. A meeting with staff is set to take place next Monday, when plans could be outlined in more detail. It is expected that at least 100 employees will leave in the latest cull. The payoffs for Ten Hag and Ashworth will be seen as expensive mistakes for INEOS. The Dutchman only narrowly escaped dismissal in the summer, but after surviving an end-of-season review where his job was at risk, his contract was extended and he was handed a £200 million war chest in the summer window. That new deal meant it was more expensive to sack Ten Hag this season. Ashworth was also dismissed just 5 months into his tenure at the club, and after a long process to appoint him from Newcastle United. Those payoffs will add to the estimated £60 million that has been spent on sacking managers and their backroom staff since Sir Alex Ferguson retired in May 2013. In June 2022, United's end-of-year accounts revealed exceptional costs of £24.7 million, which went on compensation to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ralf Rangnick and some of their backroom teams. United paid around £5 million to David Moyes and his backroom team when he was dismissed, and £8.4 million to Louis van Gaal after he was sacked following his FA Cup triumph in 2016. When Jose Mourinho was sacked in December 2018, the payoff was £19.6 million. Ruben Amorim has been told to forget about Rasmus Højlund as the solution to Manchester United's goal-scoring woes. There were high hopes when the Danish striker was signed by Erik Ten Hag in a deal worth £72 million in August 2023. However, the 22-year-old has failed to deliver a return on that investment since his arrival from Atalanta. Despite scoring 16 goals in all competitions during his first campaign at Old Trafford, Højlund has found the net just twice in the Premier League so far this season. While some pundits have blamed a lack of service for the forward's poor form, one former United player has suggested head coach Amorim should cut his losses where Højlund is concerned. Ex-United goalkeeper Ben Foster made his views clear while discussing the number 9's latest lacklustre display after starting in United's 1-0 defeat at Tottenham on Sunday. "I've literally got down in my notes here that I don't think Højlund will ever score you more than 15 a season. I don't care who he plays for," he said on the latest episode of his Fozcast podcast. Foster's views have changed compared to this time last year, when he praised Højlund's clinical finish after scoring in a 2-2 draw with Spurs in January. He suggested then that his lethal finishing would leave goalkeepers quaking in their boots. Foster said, "When he gets the ball out of his feet and on his left foot and unleashes one, any goalkeeper in the world is thinking, 'Please don't shoot.' It was ridiculous." While the ex-Wrexham stopper's views may have shifted, he's hardly alone in criticising Højlund's form. United legend Paul Scholes singled out Højlund's performance in a scathing assessment of the team's overall showing after beating Southampton 3-1 last month. He told TNT Sports, "The control when it came into Rasmus Højlund was so poor at times, he kept giving it back to them. It's solely because of Ahmad that United have won this game, the rest of the players. Take a long hard look at yourselves." Meanwhile, Foster has also raised major concerns over United's current injury crisis after questioning if some players are more content to stay on the sidelines than face scrutiny for their performances. Amorim was forced to name 8 academy players on the bench against Spurs due to the growing list of absentees. Foster said, "I don't like all the injuries that these teams have. I don't think you can put these injuries down to just bad luck." I think there is a case to be made that players are happier to be injured. They want to be injured because then they're out of the firing line. I don't think they're doing all they can do to get back as quickly as they possibly can. A major overhaul is coming to Old Trafford this summer as Ruben Amorim bids to kickstart his revolution at Manchester United. Amorim is planning to move on at least 12 stars amid the Red Devils' worst league season for 51 years. Sunday's defeat to Tottenham was their 12th in the top flight this term and sent them down to 15th place in the table. In response, Amorim and United's recruitment team are preparing to get ruthless this summer. That starts with a clear out of 12 players, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe decreeing that every player has a price. If such a large number of stars do move on, United will have to make significant investment in new recruits. Here, Mirror Football looks at 7 stars United may seek to bring in to boost Amorim's squad. Top of United's wish list has to be a striker, given their awful scoring record since Amorim took over. The Red Devils have scored just 16 times in the 14 Premier League games the 39-year-old has overseen. He has a close relationship with Victor Gyökeres, who fired Sporting Lisbon to the Primeira Liga title last season. The Swede has again impressed this season, knotting 34 goals in 36 appearances in all competitions. Gyökeres is understood to have a gentleman's agreement to leave Sporting in the summer. United will have to fight off several top clubs to sign him, but the presence of Amorim may well be a trump card. A full-scale overhaul is needed, with neither Rasmus Højlund nor Joshua Zirkzee proving to be up to scratch. That could lead to a move for Liam Delap, who has impressed with Ipswich Town. While the Tractor Boys are in the relegation zone, Delap has still managed to net 10 goals and notch 2 assists in the top flight. The 22-year-old may have 4 years to run on his contract, but if Ipswich do go down, they will surely need to sell him. Who better than the man who effectively replaced Manuel Ugarte at Sporting Lisbon to take hold of United's midfield problems? Morten Hjulmand has starred in the Portuguese capital since arriving in the summer of 2023, playing mainly as a defensive midfielder. As well as being well accustomed to Amorim's system, Hjulmand will also provide much-needed leadership, with the Dane having been named captain at the start of this season. He is understood to have a £66.5 million release clause in his contract. Having hopefully solved one wing-back issue by moving for Patrick Dorgu in January, Amorim may turn to the right side in the summer. Jeremy Frimpong would be a leading candidate, having previously been linked with a move to United. He was a key player as Bayer Leverkusen won the Bundesliga and DFB Pokal double last season. The 24-year-old has another 3 years to run on his deal, though Leverkusen may be happy to sell him as they look to retool Xabi Alonso for a fresh title challenge. Another key area that needs attention is centre-back, with Amorim's preferred system leaving United stretched on quality in this area. Lisandro Martinez's ACL injury also makes signing a central defender a priority for the summer. Given INEOS's desire for cost-cutting, Jonathan Tah could be an option, with the German's contract up in the summer. While he is 29, Tah has played all but one game for Leverkusen this term and has regularly captained them. Tah would be an experienced option, but if United wanted to go for youth, then Dean Huijsen would likely be a leading target. He only joined Bournemouth last summer, but the 19-year-old has impressed for the Cherries and scored in their win at United in December. He has played every minute of their games since 5th December, in both the Premier League and the FA Cup. Having previously had spells at Juventus and Roma, Huijsen has rare experience of featuring for big clubs. Amorim has struggled to find a partnership for the 2 number 10 slots in his preferred system. If Amorim looks to add a recruit in that area, then Matheus Cunha would be a leading option, having starred for Wolves. The Brazilian has scored 12 goals and notched 4 assists in the Premier League for the strugglers. While he recently extended his contract, there is a £62.5 million release clause, which will activate in the summer. INEOS and the Mercedes Formula One team reportedly almost cut ties last year before a late change of heart from Manchester United part owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe saw him stay with the outfit. It is claimed that the Silver Arrows F1 team were having to look for ways to rid of Ratcliffe after he indicated a desire to step away. INEOS own 1/3 of the outfit, as do Mercedes themselves, with the other third being owned by team principal Toto Wolff. Mercedes were looking at how they could buy out Ratcliffe as negotiations became increasingly tense, but the British billionaire made a late U-turn and chose to remain committed to the sport, reports The Telegraph. They claim, via a source, that INEOS's sponsorship was ongoing and stable, and that the company's shareholding was not in question. However, when the car is launched on Tuesday evening, the INEOS branding will be less prominent and is unlikely to appear on the air intake above the driver's head, one of the major sponsor spots. The company also held space on both the front and rear wings in previous seasons. The news comes after New Zealand Rugby confirmed they were embarking on legal proceedings after INEOS backed out of their own sponsorship deal. They want to end a lucrative sponsorship agreement early. Ratcliffe's company became the team's official partner in 2021 on a 6-year deal. A statement from the All Blacks read, "Having learned of INEOS's decision to walk away 3 years early, we have moved to protect the interests of New Zealand Rugby and the wider game." The partnership between INEOS and the All Blacks was understood to be worth around £3.65 million per year. As part of that agreement, INEOS's name featured across the team's training gear and on warm-up kits during the recent autumn internationals. Branding also featured across the back of players' shorts. Last month, INEOS also parted ways with 4-time Olympic champion Ben Ainsley, despite backing the Britannia America's Cup sailing team since 2018. INEOS claimed they could not find agreement with Ainsley on terms to move forward after last year's event. INEOS now plans to compete in the next America's Cup under the Britannia name, but Ainsley's team have responded and said they were astounded by INEOS's future plans for the America's Cup and that the decision raises significant legal and practical obstacles for them. 2 leading credit ratings agencies recently raised red flags over INEOS Fitch ratings, and Moody's provide financial health checks for most big companies and highlighted how business had racked up debts that were between 5 to 6 times larger than the company's annual earnings.